Hello friends, and the first step to our dish tonight is going to be to get that chicken cooked. You can use whatever kind of chicken you like. For me, I've got bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. Those were on sale. And so I'm cooking the entire family size pack. I'm not going to use that all for tonight's dish. I'm going to save some in the fridge for a dish later on in the week. So what I've got is a sheet pan sprayed with oil just so we don't stick. I used avocado oil today. And then I put the chicken pieces down and I seasoned them up. I've got garlic powder, onion powder, fresh ground pepper, fresh ground salt, parsley flakes, celery salt, and poultry seasoning. And my oven's preheated. Today I used avocado oil because that was what I had in more abundance. Like I said before, I like to switch between avocado and olive are the two main oils that I use in cooking. And after I put the seasoning on the chicken, I gave it one last spray of oil on top just so the seasoning was a little moist and would stick better to the chicken and we don't have a burning situation. So I'm choosing to cook mine on a sheet pan in the oven. If you don't have that kind of time in your day, throw it in the crock pot in the morning and cook the chicken that way. It's the same effect. We just want the chicken cooked so that we can cut up chicken pieces and assemble the casserole with it. Okay, and once your chicken is cooked until done, you want to go ahead and pull it out of the oven. Let it rest 10-15 minutes. I was in the oven for about 50 minutes at 375. Cook it until it's done. If you have a thermometer, great, use that. Otherwise, juices should be running clear and all the meat should be cooked through to the bone. You don't want any pink spots in your chicken. We are going to put it back into the oven a little bit, but not really long enough to do a whole lot. So what you want to do is let this cool down enough so that you can touch it and process the chicken. We're going to take the skins off and separate the meat from the bones and cut up into bite-sized pieces. Okay gang, we are back with the chicken all processed, and before I move forward I just want to mention, can you buy the boneless skinless thighs? Absolutely. Can you do this with white meat chicken or the tenderloin strips? Of course. I chose the pack that I did because it was a family size pack, which means it would go twice as far for my small size family, and the fact that only a few of us eat, a couple of us eat meat. So what I've done here is I've broken everything down. So regardless of what type of chicken you use, get your chicken cooked, season it before you cook it, and cut it up into bite-sized pieces. Since I had an 8-pack, I put 4 of the cut up slices into a bowl. I'm going to make chicken salad with that. I've got 4 of the thighs cut up to bite-sized pieces on my plate. That's what we're going to use for tonight. And then if you're feeling froggy and you did buy the type of meat with skin and bones and all of that, save to the side and use a plastic storage container of sorts, anything airtight. Put all of the chicken skin, bones, fat, cartilage, and any questionable pieces that look a little stringy or fatty or what have you into that container. We're going to zip that up and put it into the freezer. Later date, you can pull that out, throw it in a crock pot, and make your own chicken stock at home. Okay gang, it's decided to storm here, so if the lights flicker, I apologize. We're trying to get this knocked out before we lose power. So what I've done is I've gotten out by 9x13 casserole dish. Whatever size you have handy that's in that same neighborhood, go for it. I've got the previously cooked and cut up chicken into bite-sized pieces. Got a large can of the cream of chicken soup, mixing bowl, all my seasonings from earlier when I seasoned the chicken to cook it. I'm going to repeat those on the chicken now because it was mostly on the outside. It gave good aromatics and the skin tasted great, but I'm going to make sure that the chicken has that flavor into it. I've also got a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. I'm only going to use a part of that bag this time. They only had the big bag available at the store when I went. So I'm going to start out by just giving a light spray around my baking dish on the edges. This is a crustless casserole. Let me do the bottom too. Trying to set that down gently so I don't make too much noise. Okay. Next I'm going to go in over all the chicken. I've got 4 of the thighs I cut up, process here. You can also, you know, if you don't have time to make the chicken and season it yourself, grab a rotisserie chicken if that's on sale, or if you've got leftovers of it. A little bit of garlic powder, some onion powder, black pepper, should have had the lid off, sorry. Salt. Very sparingly with the celery salt. It packs a punch with the flavor. And some poultry seasoning. The only thing I'm omitting here is the parsley. Now that should all be pretty coated, at least on one side. I'm going to put it into my mixing bowl and then give it a good stir. Experience has taught me it will fall off the plate if I try to stir it on the plate. So we're going to start in a bowl. Oh. And you can make this ahead, you know, like I said, if you're not using rotisserie chicken, you can cook the chicken ahead of time. It'll have plenty of time to reheat while it's in the oven. The oven is preheating to 350 while I have this going on here. I'm just going to give a mix so that the chicken is seasoned on more than one side. Hopefully you can see that on camera. And then I'm going to go in with my other ingredients. I'm going to take the cream of chicken soup. Most of it, and traditionally folks use a spoon for that. Feel free. I had a fork already out and dirty, so that's what I'm going with, and I'm just going to mix that all around. Make sure the chicken is evenly distributed. Open the bag of veggies. Forgot to do that. What I like to do is see about how full the bag is, and then go maybe a third, kind of pinch it off. There we go. And I'm going to close that bag up and pop it back in the freezer, and I'll use that another night for another meal. Let me go ahead and give this a good stir again. Combine the veggies and mix them all around. The oven is preheated now, so we're almost ready to go. See, that's a little thick. So now we're going to add a little bit of liquid to this. You can go either water or milk, your choice. If you want to get fancy, heavy cream. I don't normally keep heavy cream on hand unless I'm in the middle of a baking frenzy. So I'm going to go with water because there's plenty of fat in here. So I'm going to put a little bit of water into the can. I'll be right back with that. Okay. I filled the can up just under halfway, and I'm not going to pour it all in at once. I'm going to go about half of that and mix, because we don't want this overly soupy. This is a crustless casserole. There's only going to be a top crust, so you want this to be a little thick and stand up. That's still a little too thick. I'm going to go a little bit more water here. And now we see it's breaking loose. Okay, a little bit, just a little bit more. I did not use the entirety of what I put into the can. Make sure you're scraping the bottom and sides as you stir. That did just get a little heavier on stir, but I think we're good here. So I'm going to pull the casserole dish over so that I can reach it. Now's a good time to get a spatula out. If you've got one handy. And we're just going to kind of start spreading that out to an even layer. Okay, and for our last couple of items, we're going to get ready-made biscuits out of the fridge and 1 egg. Oh my word, I'm so sorry. We're just going to set that there. Okay. So we've got this spread out, and I see kind of a high spot there. So I'm going to move it around a little bit more. I want it pretty flat. Okay. And if you're concerned that there's not quite enough seasoning, now's the time you can add a little bit more. What I generally do is go across with just a little salt and pepper. Okay, biscuits and eggs, I'll be right back. Alrighty, got biscuits and egg, a bowl, a fork, and a brush. I'm gonna crack the egg. By the way, also while I was running around, I went ahead and put the frozen veggies back into the freezer for use at a later date. Put a fish and eggshell out there. Make sure you, if you get a shell in there, go ahead and freeze it out. I'm going to do an entire egg. Some people like to just do the egg yolk, the egg white separately. I don't have any use for any other part of the egg, so if I were to do just the white or the yolk, then I'd end up throwing the rest away. So I'm going to put the entire egg just mixed up onto the top of the biscuits once I put those into my casserole. So I'll just set that onto the side. Bring this a little closer for reachability. I'm using country style. I've also done this with croissant. I've done it with the flaky layers. Up to you which you use. I tend to go by what's on sale and what's available at the grocery. Wow, stubborn can. There we go. Apologies to anyone wearing headphones. Now what I'm going to do is take the biscuits one at a time, and you can do this in bulk if you wish. Get out a piece of parchment and smush them all out together. It's up to you. I just kind of go by hand. I'm pinching and flattening as I'm stretching out. If you've ever done pizza dough, it's similar. You want to try not to get any holes, but you might get a thin spot. If you do, just kind of pinch it back together like that. We want it to be kind of even texture here, even width, depth, whatever you have. And then I'm going to place that right onto the casserole. And I'm going to repeat that as I go around and just get coverage over most of the top of the casserole. So mostly covered, there's just a couple small gaps, and again, that's fine. So we have breathability as the casserole begins to bubble and cook beneath the biscuits. That steam can get out. I'm going to give my egg another little scramble. And then I'm just going to go in with the brush. I find it easiest, and brush on top of the biscuits. This is going to give a little bit more of a crispy top to it. Biscuits will naturally crisp up on their own, but this gives that sort of nice finish that you expect with a pot pie. Since we're not using, you know, if you use a croissant crust, it will be a little more flaky and crispy on top. I did not have the croissant available. I've got one in the oven, or one in the fridge, and I've got that earmarked for another night's recipe for this week. So we're just using country style biscuits here. And cover all the biscuit, even the small pieces that are sort of fillers. Hold your egg over the biscuits in case it dribbles out while you're scooping. Less of a mess for later on. Okay. Almost there. I want to make sure I have a good coating on everything. It's a little sticky, so sometimes you have to work it a bit to get it spread around everywhere. And again, I'm just going going to go over any places that look a little lacking because I don't want to waste too much of this egg topping here. Much as eggs cost these days, I want to use as much of it as I can without turning the top into a scramble session here. Oops. Just make sure we have good coverage. Okay. Coverage looks good, and I'm going to go in one more time. A little salt and pepper. There we go. We're ready to hit the oven, and gonna leave it in uncovered 20-25 minutes. Just keep an eye on it after 20 minutes. Watch for the biscuits to brown to a good degree. You should see the casserole underneath bubbling up around the sides. Here we go, friends, fresh out of the oven. It's just stopped bubbling up around the edges where the little gaps are at. And I would let that sit another 5 to 7 minutes before attempting to serve. It took me about 30 minutes in the oven to get that crispy top on the biscuits. So it's like a flake. You know, you could use a puff pastry sheet if you wanted to. But cost-wise, they're a little prohibitive, and, you know, it's not something that everyone has readily available at all times. I have used that before. If you are going to cover the entire dish with a puff pastry top, definitely put slits in to allow some of the steam to escape. Otherwise, let her sit 5 to 7 minutes, and then just separate out the top a little bit. Grab a ladle into a bowl and enjoy a one-dish chicken pot pie casserole. Do try it out and let me know how it goes for you in the comments. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.